A while ago, I made a video where I talked about a shit ton of games from the doujin group Bio 100%, and I thought I should do it again with another group I'm interested in. So I played a bunch of games from Onionsoft, which is actually not a group, but just one person who likes programming. He usually goes by the pseudonym Onitama, but when he is working alongside others, the project has the Onionsoft name stamped on it. Anyway, instead of talking about every game I played in this video, I narrowed it down to just 12-ish games that I actually have something to say about. So without further ado, let's talk about some video games. This is cattle mutilation, and by mutilation I mean picking up cows and dropping them, because that's what aliens do. That's pretty much the whole game. You pilot a UFO for the sole purpose of tipping cows. It's pretty fun. There are clouds, I think, that are trying to kill you. I don't exactly know what their deal is, to be honest. You have a minimap that shows you where things are, but all the markers are exactly the same, so you kinda have to judge what is what by the way it moves. There are also 4 other minimaps with stuff moving on them, but they don't show anything that would be important to the player. I'm still not quite sure why they're there. Also, this game is really short. I ended up finishing it in around 15 minutes, so it's short and sweet. It gets a little difficult in the last 2 missions, but it's nothing a pro gamer like me can't handle. Oh, and there's a PC-88 version that's more or less the same exact game without the cool intro and super nice graphics. Cattle Mutilation gets a thumbs up for me. This next game is Natsuiro Adventure. I'm pretty sure the title is supposed to say Adventure with a D, but everywhere I look the game's title is listed like that, so I'm just gonna go with it. This is actually the game that made me want to do a video on Onionsoft in the first place. While looking through games on pc98.org, I stumbled across a screenshot of a pre-rendered room. It's pretty odd considering most PC98 games don't do anything like this at all, or if there are some that do that, I haven't seen them. Anyway, this game is about a young man named Nashio who is poor as shit, but lucky for him, he recently found a job as a journalist for the town newspaper, and for some reason he is tasked with writing articles about girls. So to learn more about girls, he goes out every day to talk to some. It kinda plays out like your average dating sim, where you have to figure out the schedules of various girls and hang out with them. You have some stats that you have to take care of by sleeping and making the right choices with the girls. As a journalist, you also have to spend some of your time writing the articles because missing deadlines would get you a bad ending, which I totally did not get because I am great at video games. With the game being about chatting with girls and at the same time being for the PC98, there is not a chance in hell that this game would be safe for work, but I'm not gonna get into that at all. Though it's generally not the type of game I would play in my free time, it's okay I guess. I mean, it might be even more fun to play if I wasn't illiterate, but I am. Geese are cool, but you know what else is cool? JRPGs. Onnanoko Keisatsuitai is the only JRPG on this list, and it's sort of cool. so the gameplay is pretty similar to Ys. I haven't played it, but all I know is that you run into enemies to kill them in both games, though this game has battles play out on a large field filled with enemies and allies, your party being a very diverse cast of characters. You have Girl 1, Girl 2, Girl 3, Girl 4, and many others joining your party over time. Girl 3 is best girl in my opinion. These battles are okay considering that all you can do is ram into enemies and hope they don't kill you first, but the girls become a huge problem whenever you go into town because they constantly get in your way, making it hard to go where you need to go. Through clicking around in the menu, I got them to leave me alone, but then I couldn't do it again in the next town. This wouldn't be so frustrating if the get the fuck away from me button worked all the time, or if the towns didn't have these hay pushing puzzles. I would usually say something about the story, but I wasn't paying attention because the text auto-scrolls. Plus, I'm probably gonna end up revisiting this game anyway since I like the combat. So, before I talk about the next game, I want to bring up the 100 Yen series. Similar to the Simple 2000 series on PS2, the 100 Yen series are just budget-priced games from various developers for the PC-88. And Onitama worked on some of the games in the series. So here's a series within a series, Seption. Jumper is made up of 4 games based around jumping. The first game is pretty basic, all you do is jump over these hurdles and collect hearts. Very similar to the Google Dino game, but whenever you hit one of the hurdles, the boy kinda flips out. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. It's fun for like 2 minutes, but then I get bored. Jumper 2 is more or less the same game with an equal amount of improvements and downgrades. You can now move left to right, which is cool. It makes it possible to correct your jumps mid-air, but somehow the game runs slower than the first game and the hit detection is worse. It's those 2 things that make this one my least favorite in the series. Jumper 2 gets a thumbs down for me. Wanderers from Jumper is the 3rd game in the series and it's pretty different from the previous 2. For starters, hurdles don't kill you, snakebirds do. The only thing hurdles do is push you off the stage when you die, which can be a problem if you die and there are no hurdles around to let you respawn. Boss battles are a thing, and though they follow extremely simple patterns, it's nice that they were put in the game anyway. Too bad the combat sucks ass. It's super difficult to hit anything, and everything is able to kill you with one touch. It's a cool game. I couldn't get past the first level though. The last Jumper game is the first to have multiplayer. It ditches the combat from the previous game and tries out the racing genre. It's definitely one of Onionsoft's most polished games. It looks good and it feels good to play as well. Just like the other games, you press a button to jump over the hurdles. Higher jumps have a longer recovery time, making it a bit harder to jump over the next hurdle if you jump too high, and collecting hearts will give you a little boost forward. You go through a little Grand Prix and get to compare everyone's scores. It's nice. If only I had friends to play it with. This game is probably the most popular game I will talk about in this video, but that's not because of Onitama. It's because the music for this game was composed by Yuzo Koshiro. He is known for his work on early Falcom titles such as Ys and Dragon Slayer, and he has even started his own company, Ancient Corp, which worked on quite a few Sega games like the 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog and the Streets of Rage series. He's pretty much one of the most influential video game composers of all time. Pretty cool, dude. Anyway, Onitama worked on this game too, so technically it's still an Onionsoft game. The Scheme is a Metroidvania game that is very much inspired by Metroid. Who would have thunk? It even has these annoying vertical hallway tower things that I hate so much. It's open world-ish in the sense that you can go anywhere you like, but areas obviously have an intended order because of the strength of the enemies that reside there. There are a bunch of boss fights that pretty much come down to whether or not you are strong enough to kill the boss before he kills you, because these attacks seem impossible to dodge. And then there is this one. I was gonna finish the game, but the fact that it doesn't have a map makes getting to where you want to go way more frustrating than it has to be. And the enemy placements are a bit odd. There were times where as soon as I got on a new screen, an enemy would boot me back to the previous one. That's a tad bit annoying, but overall, the scheme is a fun game. The next game is Wanderers from Super Scheme, and I'm starting to think that Onitama really likes the Ys series. Unlike the original Scheme, this game is more like Contra where you run and gun without much exploration. The first level is a crossover with cattle mutilation, which is dope, I must admit. Cows are walking around and raining from the sky, though the ones walking on the ground are too short for you to shoot most of the time, and you can't crouch like you could in the Scheme for some reason. I don't know if there are any other Onionsoft crossovers in the rest of the game because I couldn't get past the first boss for obvious reasons. The game is okay, I guess. I definitely prefer the Scheme and cattle mutilation over this though. Funnily enough, Senegal is the only X68000 game I will be talking about in this video. All the other ones I played were not as interesting. As you can see, most objects and animals in this game are just digitized stock PNGs, which I think is pretty funny. Although Senegal looks like a first-person dungeon crawler, it's not. It tries to look like one, but it's actually an adventure game with like 4 battles. And these battles aren't even real battles. They are pretty much click on the enemy a few times and it will disappear. The rest of the game is pretty much just walking around trying to figure out what items go where. I ended up getting stuck because this large house cat told me to put the crystal ball I had on a pillar and something would happen. I put it on one of the pillars and nothing happened, so I tried the other pillar and nothing happened. Then an invisible baboon killed me, so I don't know what the hell is going on with this game. When this game boots up, you are greeted by a 3D cutscene, which is pretty rare for PC98 games. There are really only a handful of games on the system that have those sexy polygons. It looks as if this game might be a nice RPG where the player goes on a quest to defeat an evil dragon, pushing the PC98 to the limits for an unforgettable experience. But it just ends up being a 2D turn-based action puzzle thing. You move and shoot fire, that's about it. When you finish a level, you unlock either a text file, a song, or an image. Some of the images are not safe for work, but the art is generally alright. The songs are all composed by various people close to Onitama. Some sound cool and some don't. It's kind of a mixed bag for me. Though this game does have a feature that allows you to queue up songs you like and listen to them back to back. I think that's pretty neat. The next compilation isn't much of a game, though it does have a few short games in it. PC's TV is just an archive of poems, song demos, CGs, and a few games. But again, some of the images shown are not safe for work. If you're curious about anything on PC's TV, I recorded a 20-ish minute video that shows everything on it. There should be a card thingy in the top right corner if I don't forget to add it. And that concludes our tour through the various games made by Onionsoft. To visit our gift shop, please go to onionsoft.net where you can learn more about the company and download some of the games you saw in this video. Onitama was kind enough to put up some as freeware, but you will most likely need an emulator for all of the games besides the Windows ones, so keep that in mind. I played about 60 Onionsoft games and narrowed it down to the 12 most interesting ones. And out of those 12, my favorites would have to be Cattle Mutilator, Jumper 4, and The Scheme. Thank you for watching the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.